The legendary Lake Trio, Uxie, Mesprit, and Azelf are once again in Pokemon GO raid battles during this week, and in order to get all three of these, you will need to use remote raid passes. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about where these three legendaries are located and how you can take them down with the best strategies and counters. Hey, what's happening everyone? Jinsula here with a brand new Pokemon GO video. I hope your day is going really well, and let's get right into it. So today we're actually going to be talking about three different legendaries, but these three legendaries are all going to be a part of raid battles during this week, but they're going to be spawning in different regions of the world. Depending on where you live, you're going to get one of the Lake Trio Pokemon in 5-star raids, and I will say when it comes to these Lake Trio Pokemon, they're not necessarily that relevant, so it doesn't necessarily mean you have to go for any of them. But for the collectors out there, it is actually something where anytime the Lake Trio Pokemon are in raid battles, people will use their remote raid passes in order to fill in certain parts of their Pokedex, mainly because these three Pokemon are considered regional. And one of the Lake Trio Pokemon is in the Americas and Greenland, one of them is in the Asia Pacific region, and the other is in Europe, the Middle East, and Africa. So depending on where you live, you're going to get one of the Lake Trio Pokemon, and if you want any of the other ones, you will need to have friends who live in those regions, and you will need to have remote raid passes. That's unfortunately the reality when it comes to the Lake Trio. But let's go over the counters for these three Pokemon, and I'm also going to explain where in the world you're going to find each and every single one of them. When it comes to all three of the Lake Trio Pokemon, they are very straightforward raid bosses. Every single one of them are going to be pure psychic types, which means they're going to be weak against ghost, dark, and bug type attacks. And they're also going to be resistant to fighting and psychic type attacks. When it comes to perfect IVs, they each have different CP values. For Azelf, you're going to want to look for one that is 1834, and if it's weather boosted, it's going to be 2293. For Uxie, it's going to be 1442, and if it's weather boosted, it's going to be 1803. And then finally for Mesprit, it's going to be 1747, and if it's weather boosted, it's going to be 2184. Those are all the perfect IV CP values, so if you come across any of these numbers with any of these Pokemon, it's going to be a perfect IV. Now, of course, all three of them are pure psychic types, which means they're only going to be weather boosted by one weather type, and that is windy weather. And then if you want to secure the win against the Lake Trio, you basically need to bring maybe 5 to 6 trainers depending on which one you're fighting. Uxie is kind of like the most difficult one. Mesprit is also quite difficult. Those you're going to require at least one more trainer than you would bring to Azelf, so do keep that in mind. But you can challenge yourself by doing any of these Pokemon. You will just need to have every single benefit in your arsenal, like party power, best buddy, damage bonuses, things like that. So yeah, do keep that in mind. Maybe 3 trainers is the best you should bring, but if you do really want to challenge yourself, you could try duoing all 3 of these. Out of them, I would say Azelf is probably the easiest one, so that's probably the only one you could use the least number of trainers. Now before we get into the best counters for all 3 of these Pokemon, and yes, they all 3 of them do share the best counters, let's go over the different regions. So when it comes to Azelf, you're going to be able to see it in 5-star raids within the Americas and Greenland, and then for Uxie, it's going to be in the Asia Pacific region, and then for Mesprit, it's going to be in Europe, Africa, and the Middle East region. Okay, and finally, let's go over the best counters. It's basically just your best dark types and ghost types. It's just that simple. When it comes to Mega Evolutions, you have 2 really good options. Mega Tyranitar is going to be by far the best Mega Evolution, but you could also go with Mega Mewtwo Y with Shadow Ball. It's going to deal a lot of damage, but it's also going to be very resistant to a lot of their attacks. So if you want a little bit of bulk, then yeah, Mega Mewtwo Y might be worth using. But when it comes to non-Mega Evolutions, the absolute best Pokemon is by far going to be Dawn Wings Necrozma. When it comes to ghost types, this Pokemon deals more damage than even Mega Evolutions. So you'll definitely want to bring that if you have them in your collection. It is by far going to be the best counter against all 3 of these Pokemon. And then in terms of the highest DPS Pokemon, it's going to be Shadow Hydreigon as well as Shadow Tyranitar. Obviously, you will want to go with dark type attacks, but they're going to deal the most damage, especially if you have the charge attack brutal swing. That is going to be the highest DPS charge attack against all 3 of these Pokemon. And of course, the non-shadow version of these are also going to deal a lot of DPS. Definitely bring those if you do not have many legendaries or mega evolutions that you could use. Alright, so there you go. When it comes to rating for the Lake Trio Pokemon, it's very straightforward. They're basically just pure Psychic types, and that means you're just going to want to bring your absolute best Psychic type counters. If you have Dawnwing's Necrozma, that's going to be your absolute best Pokemon to use against all 3 of these Pokemon. And if you have a Mega Tyranitar or even Mega Mewtwo Y, both of those are going to be really good. And I did not list it, but Mega Gengar is another pretty good option, considering that it deals an insane amount of DPS. However, Mega Gengar is also weak against Psychic type attacks, and that's primarily what all 3 of these Pokemon will bring. So my recommendation when it comes to Mega Evolutions, Mega Mewtwo X is not going to be good, but Mega Mewtwo Y is going to be good, particularly if you bring one with Shadow Ball, but I say Mega Tyranitar is probably the best Mega Evolution by far. It's going to be resistant against most of their attacks, and it's going to deal super effective damage with dark type attacks. So, simply put, Mega Tyranitar is your best option. And of course, when it comes to non-Mega Evolution Pokemon, like I said, Dawnwing's Necrozma. Very hard-hitting Pokemon, and then you can go with any of the Shadow, Dark types, or Ghost types that are in your collection. And you're pretty much going to be good to go. I know that Shadow Darkrai was a recent addition to Pokemon GO. If you have any of those that are worth bringing to this raid, you should definitely do that. If you powered up any of them, then they're going to deal a lot of DPS. But in general, Dawnwing's Necrozma, that's going to be the best Pokemon up against any of these 3 Lake Trio Pokemon. So if you have any of those, definitely power them up and then bring them. Now, as I mentioned, none of these Pokemon are going to be battle relevant. None of them are going to be good enough for raid battles or even PvP. The only reason why anyone raids for any of these Pokemon is simply for the collection aspect of it. I know for Azelf, that is probably the only one out of the 3 that is somewhat good, but when it comes to Uxie and Mesprit, basically people are trying to get them just simply because they're regionals. And of course, if you get the shiny version of any of these, that's going to be incredibly rare in some parts of the world. Like, for example, in my area, I get Azelf, and if I have a shiny Azelf, I know it's going to net a lot of good trades with people who live in, let's say, the Asia Pacific region. So if I were to go to Korea on vacation, or when I eventually move there, if I were to bring some Shadow Azelfs, I'm pretty sure some of the locals are really going to want to get them. Maybe they'll trade for a shiny Uxie, because I know Uxie is the one that spawns in that region. And if I go to Europe, maybe I could pick up a shiny Mesprit. And in my location, shiny Mesprit or shiny Uxie, that's going to be incredibly rare. So yeah, that's basically how it works when it comes to these. They're basically just trade Pokemon, collection Pokemon, that's kind of it. There's no other benefit to them. But that's pretty cool about them, in my opinion. Like, they're a great use for remote raid passes, in my opinion, simply because when you do a remote raid for Uxie or Mesprit, you have the possibility of getting a shiny for them, or if you live in the other regions, I guess for Azelf. And yeah, that's kind of a cool part about them. But aside from that, yeah, you're not going to find any uses for any of these 3 Pokemon. Maybe there is a certain specialty cup where one of them is going to be really good, but I really don't think so. They're not that great. They just kind of exist. But yeah, that's pretty much it. There's nothing really else to talk about regarding these 3 Pokemon. Again, they're going to be in raid battles for the next week, and all 3 of them are going to be in different regions of the world. And depending on your region, you're going to get one of them, and you will need to use remote raid passes for the other 2. But let me know your thoughts regarding the Lake Trio Pokemon down below. Is there a particular one out of these 3 that you are going to be going after? Are you going to be using your remote raid passes in order to get them? Definitely share all those thoughts, and let's have a great discussion. And if you enjoyed this video and you want to support my channel, best way you can do that is hitting the like button for this video. If you're watching this on mobile, hit the hype button. Yeah, hype up this video, that would help it out a lot. And also, make sure you subscribe if you haven't done so already, and turn on that notification bell so you know exactly when I upload videos. And also, take some time and check out the links in the description below. One of them is my Patreon page, and if you want to play Pokemon Go with me, you could do that by joining my Patreon, because I add all of my Patreon members. So make sure you go and check that out, and yeah, I'll see you in game. And that's going to be it for this video. I'm Jinsula. Be safe, have fun, love yourself today, and I'll catch you in the next video.